I am the host, Richard Ravenbrook, a man, a life coach, and a spiritual mentor who has endeavored to find real spiritual truth and self-enlightenment with experiences in various ministry types, pagan traditions, and even magical paths. With a love for Mother Earth and a balance of life, I work to channel spirit and to help educate and mentor those striving to deconstruct from mainstream religion and to empower them to find the divinity within themselves and to the truth around them. The messages are focused on everyday life, creating an environment of real coexistence, a world of mutual respect, love, and dignity. The pagan preacher is all things, the preacher and the pagan, speaking from the wisdom of spirit. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Pagan Preacher and this spiritual journey. Today what I want to talk about is a God with no name. Here in the United States, we have a predominantly large percentage of Christians in Christian churches. How many understand that the term God is a title, not a name? Other religions, when they call upon their God, they have a name. They know their God's name. They don't just say God, because that can mean almost anything. But what it actually would represent would be what was in your perception of what God was, your understanding of God. So when people say God, do they not realize that they could be talking to multiple gods, multiple sources? That how close can we honestly be in our own faith if we don't know the name of our God? God, as I said, is a title. What are you? He is a God. She is a goddess. But God is not a name. One nation under God. What God is that? What is this God's name? You say Jesus. No. Jesus was not God. Jesus, according to Christian, was the Son in the flesh. Completely different. The Muslims call God Allah. Other religions have names for their God, their goddesses as well. But it seems the Christians, or at least the ones here in the United States, don't even know the name of their God. Because I've asked them, when they say God this and God that, well, what is your God's name? What is this God's name so I can address them? Well, it's just God because there's this one God. And it's like, have you not read your own book? There are more than one God. There is more than one goddess. So when you say God, it's so vague, it's so open that it is impossible to know who it is that you speak to other than what you perceive or what you believe God looks like. That's why most people never find God, because they are seeking God in what their perception says God looks like. God looks like an old man with a big white beard and a glowing glow of white light and whatever it may be. And if they don't see that, then it's not God. Because in the Christian church, we're not taught what God looks like, how to perceive God, how to understand God. how to truly find God. Because not only do we have a nameless God in the Christian faith here in the United States of America, but we don't even understand how to reach such God. And I say we because most of you know that that's where I come from in my past. And in my works of deconstructing, Spirit has led me to many new revelations and epiphanies and understandings of why I felt I had to do what I had to do, and how to mentor those that felt the same need, the same drawing to go somewhere else, to seek the truth somewhere else, much deeper. How much can we trust a spiritual body that knows not the name of their own God, knows not the fact that the term Jesus was not his name either? Jesus was not how you pronounced the man that walked in Nazareth. J, the letter J, and I'm not going to go into this. You can research this, you can look it up. The letter J didn't even exist then in this language. There was no J. It wasn't Jesus. Some say it was Yeshua, because without the J. And you say, well, what really difference does it make? Because it's in our heart that matters the most. And no, it doesn't. Because if what we have in our heart is a mistake, or if our perception is blurred, and we don't quite know the facts, we don't quite know the truth, we just are going along with what everybody else says, and what everybody else says is right, then are we truly seeking? Are we actively, that verb, that we are actively looking for truth? And when we feel that we're not receiving such truth, we will do whatever it's required to find that truth, whether it be leaving mainstream religion, leaving a particular church, or whatever it may be. It takes great courage to sometimes find or to follow that truth, because truth has a way of leading us onto different paths. And when we start jumping paths, people start ridiculing, people start condemning, like, what are you doing? God wouldn't have you there. But what do you know of God in my life? What do you know the purpose that God has for me? Who are you to judge that purpose? Listen to that voice within you. You know. And knowing God's name isn't the most important thing during your initial stages of seeking. I say Spirit, and I say Spirit a lot, because Spirit is God. And when I say I've heard from Spirit, or I speak with Spirit, I am saying I speak with God. Now, God is in many different places. Spirit is in many different places. I see Spirit in all living things and all the things around me. Spirit is within me. Spirit is within you, the essence of life. We have to understand the difference between the essence of being, the essence of life, and that which gives life, and what the Bible or other religions would consider lowercase g, lowercase goddess, because they are separate in their terminology. But anyone that says that they follow a particular supreme being must know that name. Out of sheer respect, out of sheer admiration of such deity, you must know that name. Because how do you worship something that you know not their own name? Where they know nothing about them other than what the stories of other men. The 66 books of the Bible are a great read. Yes, you can learn a lot from them, but that's not all the truth. That's not all there is. You can find truth in the Buddhist. You could find truth in the Hindu. And believe it or not, you could even find truth in the lady or the gentleman that says they practice witchcraft. And I know there's many people who are going to be out there, oh, no, that's not even possible because the Bible says this about witchcraft. But we have to understand the terminology back then, too, of what was a witch and why they classified those as witches and why. We have to understand that the way they saw things several thousands of years ago and the way we see them today are completely different. The terminology witch 2,000-3,000 years ago was one that concocted poisons and conjured demons, things of that nature, that did very bad things to people. And believe it or not, most of the witches that I know that are my friends would never do anything of the sort. You have to understand what makes evil is what comes out of the heart of man or woman. When I say man, I'm classifying the humanity. What comes out of someone's heart is what is good or evil. If you have evil in your heart, you will manifest evil. If you have goodness in your heart and your intentions are good, you will manifest goodness. Same thing as kindness and love. If you are, let me just kind of stop right there. Let me just kind of back it up just a little bit. Talking about the Christian church, talking about the nameless God, a religion that never truly teaches people. And I've always tried. I've tried in the last year or two. I've tried to help people deconstruct without necessarily condemning or ridiculing the Christian faith. Because there is good in the Christian faith. But there is so much bad that it feels sometimes within my spirit that it's overwhelming and that I have to speak. Because just as prophets of the old tried to speak to people, to the Pharisees that thought they knew everything about God, everything that was, they thought they were living the way they should live. And they were doing anything of the sort. These are the same people that put your Jesus on the cross and crucified him. The same people that today want to put the 10 Commandments in school, but refuse to give children free lunches. And they let them starve. Where have we gone in this country when we depend or we rely on a religion with a nameless God? If the church doesn't understand the truth for what it is, and we can't say the church does with all these different denominations, all kinds of different denominations, labeling themselves different, teaching something that's different, and arguing amongst each other about what is right, what is wrong, what is God, what is not. We've got people leaving churches and leaving different organizations simply because of what they say, well, that church is going woke and we won't have that. We're going to go over here and we're going to go do this. Whatever happened to people just worrying about themselves, worrying about their life and their walk? Whatever happened to choice? I say this because we act like, as sometimes religious people, that we know everything there is to know about religion. But when we really dig deep into our own acknowledgement of this, that none of us truly know for a fact everything that there is to know about God and creation. To say that you do makes you a fool, because each one of us are born into this world completely ignorant of everything around us. And we are taught by some of the people that we love in the churches and other organizations. We're taught that, well, you need to go to church and you just need to follow these rules. You need to do whatever this, and then you'll be okay. You won't, you're not going to have to face eternal torture and all of this kind of stuff, when none of this is true. There is no eternal torture. The church has done so much in corruption to teach people things that control them out of fear. Well, if you don't pay your tithes, God's going to punish you. Wrong. That's another lie. God is within you. God is within all people. And to serve God, to live a life for God, means live a life for spirit and seek spiritual things. Note, this has nothing to do with religion or church. Then you will seek to bless others spiritually. And sometimes blessing someone spiritually is blessing them physically. Because sometimes when we're down and out and we're hungry, we're homeless, or we're cold, having that one person reach down and pick us up and give us a warm meal and give us a warm place to sleep. We may not have a name for that, but we can see the God in that person. We can see the godliness, the divinity within the heart of that person, through the action, through the love, through the caring. It's not about law. It's not about attending a four-wall building. It's not about paying a tithe. It's not about sending missionaries over to destroy other countries, cultures. The church sends them all over the world saying that they have to convert people. We've got to preach this and we got to preach that. Meanwhile, destroying cultures and traditions all over the world. This nameless God. Let's dig deep. Let's look at the character of this nameless God. This nameless God that says in God's will, we have to eradicate thousands of Palestinian children in Gaza by the hands of God's supposed chosen ones. When God's people here can let people starve on the streets and freeze to death on the streets, when there is plenty of resources and money to house every individual in this country without a problem, to feed every single mouth in this country without a problem. And yet, we choose to spend such money on other things. We need stained glass windows, and we need padded pews. We need field trips, and we need new buses. We need all kinds of fancy things to make our social groups so wonderful and nice. But yet we deny the very thing within us, the very godliness within us. You want to know what God looks like? Look in the mirror. Look deep within the mirror. Look deep within your mind and your heart as you lay quiet. God is spirit, that essence of life. We must not confuse such spirit with a physical, mortal characteristic of a lowercase god or goddess. Because these are individuals that have shown great strength, have done great feats, understanding and utilizing the godliness within them, the divinity within them, those that learn who they are as divine creations. We have to understand, and there's been many cons that have come upon this earth and have said that they were God, or they were the gods, and they were not. They may have been physically superior, but they were not God. We have to look deep, my friends. There is so much deception upon this earth. And you can read all kinds of books, you can listen to all kinds of preachers, you can listen to all kinds of mentors and gurus, whatever they may be. But unless you tap into spirit, unless you tap into that inner divinity, into this universe that is around us, you will never truly understand truth, and you will never truly understand who you are and what you're capable of in this existence we have here on earth. We are spirits on a physical experience. And all of us, whether you be human or be animal or be even a tree, life exists within. And just because it's a different type of life, a different type of existence, it is life nonetheless. And we are all connected to that source. But this religion of this nameless God and his son that so many can't even pronounce his name correctly, we have to rise up out of this. We have to start speaking the truth. We have to start telling people what they're teaching you is wrong. What they're telling you is wrong. That there's things within that book that, yes, are good, are right, and are holy, and through spirit you can discern some of that stuff, but you can't just limit it to that stuff. But the problem is, even in that book, there's been miswordings and mistranslations. There has been words that have been tampered with and added on purpose to change the foundations of this earth. Be careful what you think is good and what you think is evil, because the greatest place for evil to hide is where people believe it to be good. Seek within your heart what is the truth. Look at things for what they are. Look at history. Look at the physical fruits of what you see in these churches, in these denominations, in these other religious bodies. Do you see a body that is non-judgmental, that tries to love and spread love, and is kind and merciful and generous, and seeks to use every avenue of what they have and every resource they have to bless people? Then they have that true essence of divinity. But when you see the others, and you see the buildings growing, and you see the financial status of a building or of certain leaders, but you don't see the fruits of everything that you're doing, how many within your congregations or your memberships or your groups, how many are growing? Are they teaching? Or are they merely sitting in a pew or a table or wherever you may be in this temple? Are they doing anything? Are there any fruits? Because when spirit is awakened within us, there will be fruits. There will be a reaction to such action. You will begin to understand what God is. So many people, when you say God, people automatically think, oh gosh, we got a preacher here. We're talking about religion and the church. No, that is not what I'm talking about. God. We're not talking about a sky daddy in the air. We're talking about a true essence of life and being. True power and energy. Pure love. Pure. It's difficult to put into words. But trust me, if you begin to listen to what I'm saying and follow what I'm saying, you will find this just as I found it too. And I tried hard for many years to find it within the four walls of the church, because I loved the people in the church. But I found that maybe many people out there have too much love for the church and not enough love for the people, not enough love for what God truly is. They don't really like looking upon themselves and judging themselves, so they spend more time judging others. A God with no name has to change. Ask yourself, dig deep, research this. And that's why I'm not going to mention any name, because I want you to research this. I want you to dig deep. What is your God's name? What is your goddess's name? Because the pagan preacher, this spiritual journey is not about Christianity. It's about this spiritual walk. It's about learning the truth. It's about walking out of religious dogma and following spiritual truth. True spiritual truth. Not just what the church wants to teach. Not just what a religious body wants to tell you is right. But you need to find out what is right yourself. Just like I do. And that's going to come in with a lot of ups and downs, a lot of bumps and bruises, my friends. I'm going to lose a lot of friends. But they will be replaced with better ones. The narrow path, you're right. He was right. Yeshua was right. It is a narrow path. And right now, the church is one of the widest paths there is. Because it doesn't matter what you want to believe, there's a body that'll take you. There's a church that'll take you. You can believe almost anything and still call yourself a Christian. But majority of them don't even know where to start when it comes to understanding and developing power of spirit, harnessing that divinity within themselves, and understanding what prayer actually is, what it's like to manifest real positive change, what it's like to bless, what it's like to truly heal. These things are real, and you don't see them because you've replaced spirit with religion, and flawed religion at that. Thank you, everybody. I hope I've reached some of you out there. If you ever need, or if you ever have questions, understand that you can message me right here on the podcast. You can email me. You can call me. Or if you even want to physically meet up, I guarantee you, if there's a way, I'll find it. Be blessed, everybody, and blessed be. Thank you, everyone. This is Richard Ravenbrook. From my heart to yours, I hope you are blessed. Please be a blessing. Share these podcasts. Share my short videos. Tell the world the work that's being done. Help me open the minds of those so closed. Help me bring into the fold those seeking truth and enlightenment. Be blessed.